Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about truths. Here at Truly Holistic, it's all about, my life's mission is all about finding the real truths behind anything. And obviously here at Truly Holistic I'm working on people's health, and that can be at many depths, whether it's a physical level, or it's a spiritual level, energetic level, and so on and so on. So people are familiar with what I do here in previous videos. I'm not going to go into depth about that, but we kind of have conventional things placed in our society which we deem as normal, when really they are things that have been put in place through us being programmed, especially when we're kids, to what we deem as normal. And remember, that's just programming, and somebody actually telling us that that's just normal to health and to life, when really, as a kid we weren't perhaps questioning it enough, or maybe we were, but just the overwhelming programming of our parents and our people that we're looking at and watching kind of their behaviour as we got older, a lot of that programming kind of became in tune with the way we thought about the world and the way we saw the world. So anyway, I wanted to do this video talking about some things that are happening in the world at the moment, especially with politicians, ISIS, and some of the chaos which is essentially creating fear amongst the people out there at the moment. Remember, fear is a very low vibrational frequency emotion, and it's going to contribute greatly, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, on our health in a detrimental way, where the opposite to fear is love. Love is high vibrational, and I don't mean just finding your soulmate or your partner and being in love with them, but being in love with everybody around you, not being open-minded to everyone's points of views and values, and loving them for it. Doesn't matter how different they are, and also being able to avoid this fear-mongering that's happening around the world, what we see on the news, and what's happening within elections. Currently with the US election at the moment between Trump and Hillary Clinton, and I just want to talk about some of these things. And bear in mind that, just listen to these as an open mind, and just leave those things that you're listening to on a conventional media behind, and just think about these concepts. And is that, let's look at what's happening at the moment in regards to our governments. I'm just going to start off with this. Now, I'm going to use the analogy here with people buying their own home. Now, if they buy their own home outright and they have no debt, they're not having to pay a mortgage, then that person owns that home, right? Now, if that person essentially says they bought a home, but in all reality they've just taken, they having to pay a mortgage, well, do we really own the home? Because we're having to pay debt off to the bank. So really, in all truth, the bank owns this house, because we're paying off a debt to them. They own us. They govern our opportunity to have a home. I like to use that analogy in regards to the government. Now, the majority of our governments around the world and countries around the world are in debt. Okay? So, when we look to our governor, look to our Prime Minister or President and say, well, he's at the top of the tree, is he really? When really, his government and his country, or her country and her government, are in debt and owned essentially by the banks. So I think it's fair to say that the banks own the governments and own the countries around the world. So this is a hidden truth, because when people watch the news, they are seeing what the government are doing, whether we like it or not. We go with it. Don't know why, but we do. And we don't question why are things not changing? Maybe there's a hidden hand behind these governments. And perhaps that hidden hand is the banks, because there are only a very few elite people and families that own all these banks around the world. So they hold a lot of power. So much power that they can dictate what happens within elections and what the government does. So let's take that and look at this current election that we've got over in the US. Okay, originally there was a guy called Jeb Bush. I can't remember his name, Jeb or Jeb Bush. Now, he's part of the Bush family. And this race was always originally supposed to be between him and Hillary Clinton. Now, let's just take that. Let's just look at that. We've got Clinton over here, and we've got Bush over here. Now, the last, let's say, 16 to 20 years, or more, yeah, we had Bush Sr., okay, and then we had Bill Clinton, and then we had Bush Jr., and then we've had Obama, and now they're looking at, the media are really bastardizing Trump at the moment, and are very pro Hillary Clinton at the moment. You'll notice this. Now, what's up with these two families? Now, USA have got something, they've got a huge mass population. It's over 300 million people live there. Why is it always up to two families? That doesn't make sense, just that. You know, it's always either Clinton or Bush. Why? Why is it being kept within these families and these bloodlines? And what I want people to do is just open their minds to this and Google, go on YouTube, bloodlines, Clinton, Bush. Investigate it. I'm not going to be telling you. I want people to look into these things. Now, straight away, there's a red flag straight away. Thinking, well, why is it between these two families all the time, Clinton, Bush? Now, obviously there was Bernie Sanders that was within the race, and Bernie Sanders was like, he had a huge following, because people all of a sudden didn't see just your conventional politician in front of them with Bernie Sanders, and he was all for everything that, the total opposite of Hillary Clinton. Now, all of a sudden, he's out of the race, and he's backing Clinton, endorsing Clinton. Now, that's very odd to me, because he was the total opposite to Hillary Clinton when he was within the race for the presidency of the States. Now, something happened there. I'm just going to keep that open there. You have to think about that. Now, in regards to, there's usually always two main figureheads when it comes to election. Here in New Zealand it's Labour and National. Most countries are like this. And really, whoever gets in, a lot doesn't change. And why a lot doesn't change between them? When it leads up to election, obviously one person will have an idea and the other person will just rubbish that idea, because they'll just, why would they endorse their opposition's idea, even if it's a good idea? They just rubbish it. But when they get into government, then you'll notice that really hell of a lot doesn't change between National and Labour, or whatever opposing parties in whatever country you come from. And that's because the hand behind them that's controlling what we see as global politics of today and for many decades will control whoever's in power, or whoever they feel like they are in power. So it's just nonsense what's going out there in regards to politics and our government. And what I'm saying, what messages here and about truth, is for people to go within themselves, love themselves, get rid of all fear out of their lives. I mean, once you realise it, to do this, to get rid of as much fear-mongering out of your life as possible, is you have to say to yourself, I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need my government. I don't need to be involved with what's happening out there with politics and what's happening in the first half an hour of what the news is telling us the world is. Because that's what it does. It programs us to think in a certain way what we feel the world is currently. Now, when we step away from that, from the news, that first half hour of the news, which is just all about fear-mongering, what's happening in the world in regards to politics, who's dying in the world, what mass disasters are happening in the world, what wars could occur in the world. Now, it's all based on fear. It's not based on love. If we step away from that, and all of a sudden, this is the beauty of the internet. All of a sudden, we can go into a Google search, we can go into YouTube, and we can type in whatever we like. We can learn about whatever we like. We can watch whatever we like at that particular time. It's up to us. It's our decision, our choice. When we watch the news, all of a sudden we're governed to what we watch. They tell us what to watch. They tell us how to think and feel what the world is, what's happening around us. But all of a sudden, when we step away from that, we become empowered. And that's what we need to do. Whether that's health, whether that's the way we think about the world today. And this all imparts on our health and the way we feel about ourselves and where we fit in the world. Finding our own path in the world, not being confused. A lot of confusion occurs because we're so mixed up in what the news is telling us and all these things that don't seem to make sense. Because if you go deep enough into it, they do not make sense. They just are there to govern us, keep us thinking on a very low vibrational level, because that's what fear does. And we need to become more enlightened, increase our vibrational frequency by being more open-minded and questioning everything. And just feeling that, taking empowerment for your own life, whether that's in the way that you see the world day by day, and also looking after yourself, looking after this vehicle that you're going to have for 100 years for your immortal life, which is your spiritual part of yourself, your spirit. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you want to learn a bit more about what's really happening in the world in regards to politics and governments, David Icke is a great person to find out about this information. This guy's got a wealth of information regarding this. He does conferences. Currently he's over in Australia. He's doing a show up in Auckland, New Zealand soon, in August. And his show goes for 10 hours. He talks for 10 hours. Just hard facts and evidence to show that there are underlying people, and even going further back than that, controlling the world today, behind our governments. And our governments and our politicians are essentially puppets. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, drop them below. Yeah, thank you.